This is extremely disturbing to having to imagine the things these people make me imagine. And they want me to be like identifying, and some of the logic of the things I'm experiencing, it's just like, how can we make you experience that if it wasn't there? Like things like that. And they make me imagine. Oh, it's so disturbing. I wish, and honestly, and this is so unfortunate, but I wish I was like, I had the image of this kid, this baby, it's like 6-year-old baby. They have been trying to make me have this like stimulations where they try to make it seem like you could feel this way in certain ways if this was experienced in this way. Don't you feel like you felt something familiar like that when you were a kid, or something disturbing things, a lot of manipulation. But you just heard that as target individual, we get this pedophilia type of torment. I know naturally I will never experience it this way, but the way they even try to rationalize it is like, we find out that you could see it this way if this and that happens, and to create that in my mind. It's like, no, you have to manipulate me to experience that. And on top of that, they try then to say, okay, maybe when you were a kid you could feel it like that, if this. So doing a lot of nasty manipulations, literally changing the way you perceive or experience something, and call it reminding it. No. Obviously, when they say this, they want me to be agitated by it, and they want to gaslight me into accepting these things. It's obvious they know that manipulations are needed for me to experience this, but they want me to be like, this makes sense if we can mine it and we can manipulate you to experience that. It's like me saying, oh, no, what you experience is something that if we went to your brain and this, that, then you feel it. If I mine your brain and do this and that, like on its own, it's retarded. Right, but you just heard what I just put in. What you just heard there was the obvious manipulation of the mind in a pedophilia centric. So they have these patterns of you manipulating people in these pedophilia ways of experiencing whatever they're experiencing, dreams, thoughts, stimulations, all kind of nasty things. You heard that, right? But these perps then try to gaslight you into accepting this, and they the gimmicks they play. Oh, for our girls, trash ass pedos, man, this nasty low life. And in my mind, the imaginations they're making me imagine. They make me imagine this little girl coming near me, and it starts to be like nice and wholesome, and then turn into pedophilia things, and then just like, did you feel like you could feel like that? No, you are making me imagine that, and make me imagine these things. That like that. Of course I will not feel this way. I know that I will not have this disturbing experience. But you trashers, low-life pedophiles, nasty fucking trash that they are trying to make you accepting of these things. It's so nasty. For me, it's just like, listen, these people sold their soul to fucking pedophiles and they'll die. Death comes to them at one point or another. They were saying that how they're going to torture me and then they'll die. It's like, I'd rather be tortured day in and day out to try than let you live your fantasy of thinking that this thing will ever happen to me organically. Never. So for me, you're going to continuously be retarded. That's the word that best describes the perps that try to gaslight you into accepting this. They can repeat things 1 billion times. As long as I know you do the perfect type of torture, I will always be validated. And of course, I know that I have to be manipulated in whatever fashion, in disturbing ways, to try to train my brain to make me acceptive of this. They're making me feel like a feeling that maybe you felt it like that when you were like 9, 10 years old. Like, it's so disturbing. And try to be like I'm talking about 3rd grade. And then try to be like, no, but if that's this is disgusting. And try to implement. It's so foul. I don't even like. It's just disturbing how they try to make you acceptive of whatever you're experiencing, and even try to play with the way you like your childhood of a 3rd grader. Try to make me give me a sense of stimulation that I remember when I was playing mom and dad with some other kid when I was in 3rd grade, and try to use that. It's like, no, we minded. Can you imagine? And then implant that in your and then try to create that and mimic it in a certain ways, but then it is so fucking foul. I'm sorry for the language, but this is the best way I can describe this trash that they do to us in order to gaslight you into accepting these things. It's non-stop. It's non-stop. Try to move things around and play and implant and stimulate me and do these things and call it being a war. But for me, it's simple. I want to continuously show the patterns of what they do. These low life pedophiles. That's all I can call them, pedophiles. It's obvious that there's a problem with pedophilia in these agencies, but these cowards, low life, that are capable of torturing children, which you gonna hear that? I are here trying to get you to accept this pedophilia type of tormenting that is just disturbing. And for me, it's trying to like convince me that no, you see, this little girl is real, this is fake, this, and then in my brain just creating this weird sensation, stimulations, and imagination of these babies. It's so disgusting. And literally all throughout the day they've been doing these things to my stimulations, like just forcing me to get stimulations so they can really easily implant these things while cranking up my libido, so they can create these arousals and try to gaslight me to make me think, oh, you see what? Oh my gosh, you're gonna die, and then go back in that trash of whatever they're in to try to get you to act. It's so disturbing. And for me, I can feel my libido just full aroused because of what they do. Like they are arousing, literally controlling my libido, literally cranking up my sexual arousals to then implant these things. So when they do this implantation of imaginations, they can also play with my sexual arousals and create that and aim it. It's just so nasty. And then in my brain try to make me like, no, but does it not feel familiar like that? They to make me imagine like this imagination of if this kid was around and if this and that, and create these stimulations that they say that they minded, and they try to make me think of me when I'm like in third grade, and it is so disturbing. And then they try to disorient me. It's like, oh no, we're gonna meet, let's meet trash. I'm telling you, death comes to all of us. I'd rather die this way than having to live like this trash. This low life bottom feeders, this trash the government uses. I'm glad that you sold your soul to pedophiles. I'm sorry if those are the last word I say. I'm okay saying that a billion times, because I know how words have power on its own. I know that if you see me in person, if you think that I'm going to subscribe to this shit, these people will never. I will never let them escape. Now I understand they're going to use their own babies as shield, meaning that they're going to have their kids around, these babies, little girls, and mostly little girls, but even little boys, to try to force me to then create these disturbing manipulations that make me have toward these kids, like the stimulations, and be like, you see, that's proof. No, trash. That's proof that you can do the preferred type of torture. I know naturally I will never have these nasty things. Now they try to agitate me, but these pedophiles, which I've called them in their faces. I don't care if I want them to just normalize what they're part of. So when this shit comes to them, they just understand. Okay, you remember that moment, huh? Remember this. Remember when you're doing these things to this man or this woman or whoever, and you're doing this nasty pedophilia things, and you thought that he was gonna subscribe or she was gonna subscribe, identify. Actually, he told you you're gonna fucking die too. Now deal with this. Some nasty low life that are whispering away via this V2K. Trash us. And then they try to talk about me as a child. You're going to listen to not only what they do to women and men, but the fact that they torture children. And do you hear this low life trying to be agitating in their voices? When you see me in person, I swear, these things just doesn't connect anymore. I'm isolated. I'm forced, but in person, things changes quickly. You see them, oh my gosh, you see them for the low life, and they try to warn me of torture as if I'd rather deal with torture than having to deal with these nasty pedophilia things. For any man and woman or anybody who's trying to convince somebody to accept these manipulations, as much as I know, no, listen to what they do. I don't care if I repeat this 1 trillion times and those are my last words. Those are the words that needs to be said then.
The projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time. and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
it's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophiles. Like this disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know.
Alteration of the smell sensation, so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my
voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
Information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture. Groups work with what the TI says or does. Then they started during the nights to run some kind of beam where suddenly I've been wakened up at 3 o'clock in the mornings and some kind of voice comes and say phrases, sound incomprehensible and some other times can actually catch what is saying, ITS not my voice, a different voice, and I realize that they are trying to program for me to take it in a way that I won't notice a possible change in my behavior. Of course this is not new, because one main thing this program is out there is called behavior modification for the undesirable, and that's one of the excuses this groups give for the neighbor TO join, deception. I learned to talk back, in my mind, during the process when I was awakened, and I would say demeaning things that I cannot repeat it in this blog, you know what I mean. Since they had violated me for so long, I decided to aggravate them with words in my mind. I can hear my own voice. I told them I'm going to make you pay for all of the years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation. For every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. And said this, the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use. A people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them I usually called demeaning names, and one of them is referring to homosexuals. For me all of the slaves are misfits, society haters, scumbags, etc. No, I don't have anything personal against them, homosexuals, but as my way to aggravate the slaves, and since they love to use children for the torture and stalking, street theater etc. Especially teenagers for the stalking at close range with an attitude, they are using them during my sleep in the perversion program, and so you can imagine what the slaves of torture are pretending to do to me. In the last days, as today September 9th, 07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day and I feel the palpitations in my genitals for what I'm thinking, and since the attack comes so quickly, I realized my programming has been set on auto, in their central computers, no handlers could do something like this that quick. What make me realized, the slaves are desperate to get me. Unfortunately for them they are facing a strong wall where no matter how much their computers EAP me, I know I'm not changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a beam where I feel constantly changing. As I said, I feel like they've been set up a beam where I feel constantly stimulated. I'm talking sexually, like a heat in my genitalia.
Sure.
Thanks.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from. And I won't go into. Thank you.
I'm asking you to help initiate the congressional documents that are hiding what's been going on. The answer to the question, the big question today, could it happen today? The answer is yes, it is happening.
Having a great day at school. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. And I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said,
So they'll say, we're